imagine a day and age where you can just plug in and within 5 minutes, that's the sound you got to work with. Good day, you naughty devils. I thought I'd just get the camera on, get the audio going, new compressor in the rack, little experiment, see how it sounds. And I know for a fact these strings are well and truly used and abused, so I'm going to change them. I'm doing some recordings, might as well change the strings now. I've been procrastinating it. I mean, sounds alright, right? But where you notice it is a clean channel. I mean, it still sounds good, but it's not as centrally jangly as it could be. So I'm just going to play through all the sounds that I would typically use. Then I'm going to change the strings and we'll go through again and we'll compare the difference. But are you one of these people that doesn't change their goddamn strings? They just leave them on perpetually? Or are you one of those people that puts strings on and claims that they last for months on end, but you don't actually play? You don't play it a lot. I'm talking to you. What do you think so far? Am I just being fussy? Does it sound good enough to leave? They are elixirs. I choose the elixirs because they're super bright and you get lots of clarity coming through the amplifier. You want all that clarity come tearing through all that monstrous gain. I mean, after all, what's the point of paying for all this high-end gear if you're gonna be a stinge and not change your strings? That'll do. I'll change the strings now. We'll be back. Shit, yeah? Edit the shit out. Alright, so back to the video. When it comes to de-stringing a guitar, you want to loosen off the goddamn strings before you cut them. I believe this protects the neck. If you were to just start cutting the strings, then the neck itself would be shocked under the sudden release of tension. I don't know if that's 100% the truth or not, but let's go with that. I'm going to loosen the strings. You want to cut them and ruin your guitar? You go ahead. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong. Fight me. This is not per se a string changing demonstration. You go watch some other nerd for that. I imagine one day the neighbour's gonna come knocking on the door. Can you turn that goddamn amplifier down? I've had enough of it. For 4 years you've been in here chugging away. You're just awful. You're a terrible musician. To which I would have to agree and apologise. I was gifted a set of machine heads by my friend Artie Kudik, who does some brilliant black and white photography. But those machine heads come off a Bill Kelleher from Mastodon's Les Paul. I've got another Les Paul over there. It's a vintage Canora, but it's pre-lawsuit, so it is a Gibson copy. It's got a special and unique tone, which is why I bought it, but it is a neglected shell over in the distance there. But I will put those machine heads on that guitar when I'm ready to bring that guitar back into commission. I think it'll make a pretty cool detail to have the Bill Kelleher, you know, the machine heads that he didn't want on my guitar. I'll take it. It's like it's like being at the table that they're eating at and being like the dog on the floor, and they throw you a bone and you happily eat it up. Well, look, be careful when changing strings. I've poked a hole in my thumb. So when the strings are off, you know, some people might like to take the opportunity to clean the neck, dust down all the pick dust. The reason I mention it is I haven't really decided whether I'll do that. If you have a look, look at all that. You can see how it's got a green tinge to it. A lot of dust. Pick dust. That's from shredding picks. Beautiful. All right, strings are off. Coffee sip. You gotta love it. Little microfiber cloth just happened to be within reaching distance. So I'm going to clean the dust off at least. I'm not gonna go crazy and clean it all and massage oil into every crevice. I'm not going to molest the guitar. I'll just give it a brief dusty down. Whoa. There's a lot of pick dust here. I'm not one to baby my guitars. They're not ornaments. To me, they're tools of the trade. And if you know any kind of tradesman, you know that you don't. No tradie out there worth his salt has all these tools like nice and clean and, you know, hyper protective. Oh, don't scratch that, or don't get paint on my drill. You know, they're there to be used. If you're into collecting them and they're collector's items, I understand that, and that's fine. But that's not what I do with them. I like to use them and abuse them, as it were. A little bit of love. That will about do it. This guitar in my hands is my favorite guitar. I've got expensive guitars. Have a guess. I'll tell you, but briefly have a guess how much I paid for this. It is a vintage 70s era Greco copy of a Les Paul Custom, a Gibson Les Paul Custom, which is undeniably one of the most famous and most awesome guitars ever conceived. You know, it's got the block inlays, the exact Gibson headstock, the open book headstock. It says Greco in the same font as Gibson. It does have a bolt-on neck though, but that does not diminish the value this guitar brings to me. Someone out there might not be impressed at the bolt-on neck. And good on you. You take your neck through, or your strap-on neck, whatever you want to say, and you frolic off into the distance with it. Right, brand new elixirs, 10 to 52s. Strategically place the trash on the floor. Right now I'm thinking of when you first start changing strings, how easy it is to get this wrong, and how many times you'll find yourself winding the string around the tuning peg. So much so that it winds up over itself, and you realize you've made a massive mistake and you've ruined everything. Shout out to you guys. That's just part of learning the guitar. There is a bin down there. I've aimed for it every time and missed every time. I know some of you guys like to have your own guitar bench set up where you can like set it up and work at your convenience. I've always done any guitar work I've ever done, soldering, changing pickups, changing strings, truss rod adjustments, all these things. I've always done them sitting on my lap. And I ain't about to change, goddammit. To me, an entire dedicated bench in a room is a shitload of space to dedicate for changing strings and occasional adjustments. A little note here. So this guitar is very old And something worth mentioning is that being as old and worn as it is it's obviously not perfect. When I'm done here, I'll give you a closer look of the condition of the nut on this guitar. You perfectionist who has to have everything just so will be disgusted. Perfect. I'm getting to the thicker strings now. You got to be extra careful of that amateur mistake of winding them too much. You ever seen it? I know you've seen it. We've all seen it. The E string that's been wrapped around itself that many times. Oh my God. Nearly there. 2 strings left. Why am I turning to YouTube? And the reason is because I'm a pretty savvy tradie, but I've always wanted to be a muso. And I put all this work and effort into succeeding as a tradesman, but that ain't ever going anywhere that I want. And I'm pretty ruthless when it comes to putting time into being a musician. But I'm afraid I've not put enough time into the marketing side. You know, there's plenty of guitarists out there that are able to take care of their Instagrams, their videos and whatnot, and to those who did it earlier, they're like, they're the modern guitar heroes. Who'd have thought? If I had started a YouTube channel a long time ago, I'd be much further along. Anyway, we're doing it now. Beautiful. All right, I got to cut these strings off with some snips. I can already hear it sounds so much better. The moment of truth is upon us. Fresh strings, in tune, is it better? It sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. What do you think? New strings v dead strings. Is it worth changing them? Of course it is, and we all know it. So you just watch this to find out an answer that you already knew, I bet. Well, if you didn't know it, I hope now you've been inspired to change your goddamn strings. If you're one of those leaves you rusty strings for 10 years on your guitar, get out of my sight, mate. We can't be friends. I think that's it. Anything you want to chat about? I welcome your comments in the bottom. I welcome your likes and your subscriptions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you did enjoy the video in any capacity, I'd like you to find your way to the like button and please press it. If you also deem me not guilty, I'd invite you to hit the subscribe button, but don't just do it because I've asked. Let me sweeten the deal. Subscribing to this channel would be not dissimilar to dating me. And what would dating me be like? Dating me would be like dating Satan himself. Nothing but endless pain, torture, and misery. And in your anguish, you'll wish you'd made better decisions in life, because all you ever really wanted was a little slice of heaven. But your need to self-sabotage has once again led you astray and into my greedy clutches. And who wouldn't want that? I will see you in the next video. Peace.